grassy this room is.
It's not the grass.
Steve, he just showed up. We're going to call the meeting back to order here. Item number 13. Discuss the possible change from 12 to 7 meetings per year by Director Driscoll. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I submitted a notice to our administrator, to put this proposal on our agenda in March. It really ties in, with the next agenda item regarding our administrative services contract. My sense is that, in terms of, procuring administrative services, it seems to me quite a difference between whether you're looking at 7 meetings a year or 12. So I thought it's something we'd ought to get on the table and revisit. So I really don't intend, there's no action that I'm aware of that could be taken tonight. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that, that's my logic, and, if we need discussion on it, I'm sure that's fine, but that's the reason for bringing the agenda item forward.
Okay, Nathan, go ahead.
So we just changed this just recently, and I think it was kind of in response to some of the comments we were getting from the public. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like to comment on that.
I can speak up. I don't know how many, I've been on this board 2 years, and for how few people come to a board meeting, I've probably been told 100 times that our meetings run too long, because it's not untypical they've gone till 11 p.m. The second thing is, let's say we have a great project. With skipping every other month, it might take 5 months to get them approved, because if they miss this board meeting today, and there's no meeting in March, the first vote would be in April, and the follow-up vote would be in June. So you're literally looking at a 5-month swing before we could ever start doing a project. And let's say we have one of those meetings where we're asking for more information. Now you just pushed it out another 2 months. So it literally would take 5 to 7 months just to get one project approved. And it takes forever to get the ball rolling.
Okay, sir. Okay, go ahead now.
Okay. And I also kind of agree with James, just for the speed of moving projects forward. And also, I would like to revisit this, or this idea of switching back to 7 until we at least have a year, some data, see if it helps, see if these meetings are more enjoyable by the public because we're not here until 11 o'clock, and see how quickly we can get some projects moving around, because one of our major concerns is our budget, and it would be a quicker way to have that second vote the next month and not carried to sometimes after the June meeting. We don't officially meet until September. No, the August was the budget meeting, which we did not.
Right.
So then that would move to September. I think we should at least see it out for a year. And if it needs to be changed, we can have this discussion in December and start with the new year.
Okay. Any other comments?
On my end, I've been involved with this board since the early 1990s, and so I saw a couple decades where they functioned at 7 meetings per year, and I've never been aware of any problems with that meeting schedule. Certainly part of my logic. As far as the August budget meeting, does that preclude doing any other business, or is it allowable to do only a budget hearing?
Well, there was other business. How would that mean?
We could do other business.
But usually it's
It's
very, very time consuming with pending budget.
It was minimal. But there was other action taken at those meetings besides budget.
But we're also limiting the agenda on other meetings too. We're limiting agenda items to like 15 items.
Steve, you have anything?
Yeah, I was going to follow up and say exactly what the two of them said. I think we should go for it now, because right now, again, here we are today, it is late, and we were late the last time, so far, it's still, so I'm assuming there's a reason the prior board did that, it's because of it. Now, if we get to a point where we've got this consolidated and we're moving, then we could always revisit it, but I think for now, we're late today, I don't see it changing anytime real soon.
Here.
I guess I have a comment.
Okay.
I agree with what you're saying. It might be nice to try it for a year. On the other hand, I'm willing to put in the time that's needed, but with the extra meetings, being on the executive committee, that doubled my meetings as well. And I think, the time that our staff will need, and it's 8:15. I think we're going to be out of here certainly before 10 o'clock, and we've got 23 items on the
That's
agenda.
because we had a meeting this month. If we didn't have another meeting until March, we would have double the agenda items.
Well, not necessarily. We might have had a few, but, and some of them that are on this agenda wouldn't have.
And everything that happens at an executive board isn't actionable. The board.
I mean, that's true. I'm just saying that that's just extra time also. Just another comment.
When it comes to our administration, he does 20 hours a week plus a little extra, I believe. Is the extra meeting a month affecting your schedule? Because you would already do a meeting in your weekly scheduled time, correct?
Right. Yeah, and I put the RFP I answered, I put that in the packet so you know what I bid on. And it was basically 7 meetings a year. And there is a lot of overhead per meeting. I got to set this up, record. And then remember, I have to relive this meeting. I have to listen to that recording, hit pause a lot, and make the minutes. So I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you what's involved. And then there are the executive board meetings. However, when the board, you guys talked about this last year, and even though my contract says 7 meetings a year, I was okay with it. Times being what they are, and I'm glad to have a job, and I wanted to accommodate what the board did, and I thought this would, and it seems to fit in with the 20 hours a week, although more of those 20 hours are going to things like that have to do with the meeting. So, from my point of view, it's doable.
Okay, thanks.
So we're kind of blending into agenda item 14, which to me is fine. I mean, I just wanted to get it on the table, and then in light of the administrative services contract. So as far as I'm concerned, if anybody wants to go back to item 13 in any sense, that's allowable, but if it's fine with everybody, we can continue on into number 14.
I think everybody's commented on it, so go ahead.
So I guess, I wanted to become informed on, what all is involved with our administrative services contract. Certainly, I perceive that, this can potentially make quite a difference in the administrative workload. It's kind of separate from, somewhat related. I haven't necessarily had a chance yet to become informed. To what extent is the administrative services contract separate than, say the rent in the office here? Is the rent included in the administrative services, or is that a separate item?
That's a separate line item.
We're paying, what, $400 a month?
It's $400 a month. We have access to all the meeting space here.
Right, so above and beyond administrative services, there are other administrative line items, supplies, office equipment,
Yeah,
things
the
like.
printer, toner, legal is under administrative. Those are the main items. They're somewhat spelled out on your treasurer's report.
Yeah, I hadn't found all the right items, hadn't picked it
I
apart.
can go through that with you at any time, how they're categorized. Does that
Sure. One of the questions I've got, what is upcoming for our administrative services contract? What is the term of the contract? What's our next? What happens
Well,
next?
My contract is through April, so I'd like to keep going as your administrator, but of course, I serve at the pleasure of the board.
I'll just make a comment. He was hired in April, but we went through we asked for proposals for anybody that was interested in doing that job. We identified the position and then received, I think we had 5 proposals and cut it down to 3, and then the 3 proposers came in front of the board, and the board listened to their presentations and then voted on, well, Dan was the one that was selected. That's how it worked. Oh, okay, Steve?
So as we're talking about this, coming up April would be a new contract for you. You said Jack State now, or with the new going to the 12 meetings, are you going to propose a different? Is your proposal going to change? You're going to have a lot more time in this, and I didn't know if it was the contract is going to be the same, or are we going to be amending the contract going forward because of this extra time? I guess would be my question. So April's coming quick.
That's good.
So is that for me?
Yes.
I would be fine with the amending this to say 12 meetings, even though this, the one that says 7 now, and not add, because of that, maybe a little bit of cost of living increase on what I'm doing now, but basically the status quo I would be fine with.
I will say he was the low bid by a considerable portion as well.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more concerned about where he's. I gotta say,
Yeah, we're gonna bargain
you
for
send him an
money.
email and it fires right. I don't know if you're just on your computer all the time, but I mean, your
Well,
response, I gotta tell you, is amazing.
You can negotiate with me,
I want more messages.
James wants you to do it for free.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this contract set up where it's renewed, or does this board seek to take bids on administrative services every year?
Typically,
That'd be up to the board, I'd say.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a certain policy.
no, one reason why it came up.
So if the board wanted to, they could seek other offers or ask Dan to revise his.
I would say that's correct.
Okay.
The last time, the last administration actually left, and then they decided they didn't want to work with us. Okay, and that's how they sent out proposals in, I guess it had been January, maybe? Because then in March, and then in April?
Yeah,
Somehow,
1 month
some
transition.
1 month transition, and it's a significant amount of get up to speed, and he's done a great job. Plus, he's improved several things like the speaker system, streamlining some of the office.
Emily was, as she said, Emily was
Okay.
doing that work.
All right, I
Yeah.
remember that now.
Any other comments?
Linda's was my question also. What do we need to do? Is what we've got renewable? Do we need to be seeking? To me, all these things kind of fit together, and it's
You'd probably go on the agenda
considerable
next month
question
to
between
reviews.
how many meetings a year and what do we do about this.
I would say that's, the board needs to probably decide what they want to do here, and then probably by the next meeting, because April's coming up. Yeah, you can, go ahead.
If you look at the previous year's minute or agendas, that was a standard item, renewal of contract, that it didn't look like you routinely put out bids, it just looked like you redid the contract, but I guess I just going by what I saw in the minutes.
Let's close it this year.
But those are all on the website, so you guys can go back and look through it.
Nathan has
I
come.
think the way this has been done in the past is basically they stay on until the board is unhappy or they're unhappy.
Yeah,
And so
Yeah, I think
we
that's
just-
true.
We continue the relationship as long as both parties are satisfied with what's going on. And each year it's negotiated with the administrator as far as cost for the coming year. And I think that helps everybody.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
well,
I'll add this was not really an official one-year contract. It was more of an understanding, and I knew the board would honor that, but if for some reason I was totally incompetent, you could fire me.
Yeah.
And if something came up on my end, I would certainly want to give you guys time to deal with it, but I don't anticipate anything like that.
I think you've been doing a great job, Dan.
Well, thank you.
Everybody that I've talked to has said the same thing.
Yeah, comment,
So are you saying there is no contract in place?
Till April.
There was nothing, I don't think anything was really, I'm going to back up and say I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look at what I have.
I think it was a proposal, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
Wasn't it in a proposal form?
There was a request for proposal, and I responded to that RFP,
Yeah.
and I was accepted, and I can't remember.
I don't believe there's a written contract that I could really
Yeah,
see.
to me it was a little bit fuzzy, and it looked like there was an out for either side if he really wanted it.
But whatever it is, probably expires sometime around April
Well,
or
it did
May or June or.
It did specifically say a year. However, I'm just saying from a legal point of view, I'm not sure that wording would hold up. If there was reason for either party to try to get out. So I'll say I don't know for sure. I could look it up.
Well, it'd probably be a useful thing for us for our next.
Agenda item for next month.
I got a question too. I mean, on the previous administrators, did they actually have a contract, written contract with the board? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Maybe that'd be something to look, see if you can see it. I mean, I'd kind of like to know too.
Well, I could turn and look in the office and see if it's in the file.
Yeah, of course, I had like a 2-week overlap with them, and that's my main. I think they did a good job. I think things were pretty well in order.
Okay.
Well, I would think if there's a contract, we should find it so there's probably not one, or you would know about it. But I mean, typically those things would have a clause for renewal, things like that. And,
Well,
It's probably a good business to see if we did.
I'll take
Have a
an action
contract.
and try to look in. I can talk to them too, talk to Emily. It may have been, hey, this is South Dakota, we just honor the intent, but I'll try to find that out.
Okay. Any more on that?
I just thought this is something we probably needed to
Oh, good.
have on the table.
Good point. Okay, that was item 14. Item 15, update on the withdrawal of petition for declaratory ruling regarding administrative rule South Dakota 74530104. Chuck Chastain. Got any comments?
It's been accomplished what you asked for.
Okay,
You need to know more than that?
no? It was on the agenda.
I turned in my bill today. So
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Item 16. Status update for the arrangement contract West Dakota has for legal services. Director Cole.
And this is probably just a new director thing, but I wanted to learn, if Mr. Jasper's here tonight all night long, is he just enjoying the conversation, or is he on billable time, or how does this all work?
Let me answer your question just the way I can. I attend a lot of meetings. I don't charge for anything unless I'm involved in the meeting at your request. So if I come here as a citizen and give you my opinion, you're not being charged for that. I charge $2.15 an hour for my time, plus whatever the costs they incur. Of course, there's no sales tax because you're a government organization. So, does that answer your question?
I think in part, yeah. Do we have a contract then, or some kind of
We do not have a formal written contract, no.
Okay. That must not be the board's thing.
No, it was,
Well, technically, you don't need a contract in writing, you can have an oral contract.
Okay.
So what the contract would be is the board made a motion, it was seconded and approved, and I agreed to it. That's an oral contract, essentially. Or you can say it's written because it's in the minutes.
I can tell you the difference between a contract and an attorney and a no contract with an attorney. A contract with an attorney means we pay him a retainer just to sit there and look pretty, whether he uses that money or not. With the no contract, he's here of his free volition, and unless we pester him with a legal burden of writing up documents or reviewing documents, he doesn't charge us a penny.
I just wanted to make an observation that Chuck Jasper has regularly attended these meetings, and that's one of the reasons, main reason perhaps, why he was selected by the board, because he's here. He was also a past board member, so he's got intimate knowledge of this board and our activities, and from my perspective, he's the perfect attorney for us.
Okay, Chuck just came on here recently as our attorney, and I tell you, Chuck has done a good job. I'm not downgrading, but my issue with the way we hired him was that we had an attorney that the board went through and selected. I wasn't on the board when the attorney was selected, and went through a selection process just like we did with the administrator. And the problem I had with the way we handled that was we did not do that. We just picked somebody and ran with it. And I think that we should have went through a proposal process just like we did for the administrator for legal services.
Can I make one little difference? Dan, you were a board member when we brought Chuck on.
Yeah.
You weren't an executive board member, but the executive board didn't decide to hire him. The board as a whole voted to hire him.
Oh, I know that.
Okay, you said you weren't a board member then.
No.
I think he meant the previous, when
The pre-
Mr. Jasper was.
The previous board, when they hired legal services, they went through a proposal process, just like we did with the administrator, and it was selected by the board. They apparently had proposals just like that. For Chuck's situation, we just picked him at a meeting out of the audience without going through that process, and that was the issue I had with how he was selected.
Okay, no, I thought you said that you weren't a board member
No, I
during
was
that
a board
process.
member.
Okay, I was just being clear.
So what I'm hearing is when we hired the director, we went through an RFP process, and he was hired. An RFP process was used before the hire of the prior attorney. Did they notify the other attorney that they were going to send out an RFP so that attorney that they currently had as the attorney for this board, was that person notified to turn in an RFP? That's my question.
I heard that the attorney that we had read about it in the paper.
They hadn't represented the board in over 2 years, and the conflict came up with that attorney.
I heard that the attorney that was our attorney read it in the paper.
I'm going to go back and ask my question one more time. Did we do an RFP process?
No.
And the question
We
is,
did
why
not.
not?
There was a conflict of interest with the attorney with the legal.
But I understand, James, but if you're going to go out like we do, and I've been to a lot of boards, I'm sure you have too, you have RFPs for a reason, so that people come before you, do that, and tell us why they should be the attorney. I'm not saying that we shouldn't use Jasper. I'm just
No,
saying
there's
that.
a time of the essence, and he was the one attorney that we notified that was willing to actually take it on.
Okay.
Chuck?
If I may, the last time, I know there were at least 3 attorneys that submitted proposals. I was one of them. And essentially, my proposal then is what I would propose now, period.
But you went through, it was a proposal
Right.
process, right?
Right, it was a process.
That was my
yes.
understanding.
I know at least 2 other attorneys that had sent something in.
Okay.
And, the attorney that was selected worked for the board on one specific thing and never came to another meeting that I know of.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I wanted to learn a little bit more about how it all worked and.
That's how it happened.
Okay, and then, I observed Mr. Jasper's here, and I wanted to know, if that was part of his responsibility, or if he's just here.
It's not part of my responsibility
Right, but I'm
unless
saying-
I'm requested.
That was a notified.
I will say
I know
that,
some of the matters. We can talk
when
about this.
the executive board met regarding this funding proposal, agreement with
And I
for
want to make
the
sure we as a
project that
board
we just turned down,
above,
Uh,
clear,
we-
just like you two have.
the ones that were there suggested that, because there's some legal language in there that we were not familiar with, and we were going to have Chuck do some work on that to take a look at before we, blessed it, but I guess that's out the window now, so. Moving right along. So that was 16-17. Bylaws amendment to include language regarding disclosure of conflict of interest. We talked about that last meeting, and but I was suggesting that we use the same language that East Dakota used in their bylaws, and Jay Gilbertson was here and explained why they had it in their bylaws, because if the water district ever uses money, federal or state money, as I understood it, they require that type of language in our bylaws. So I'm suggesting that we add that to our bylaws. Yes, Nick?
Is this in addition to having the public disclosure up front?
Yes, that would be in addition.
Sure. Good.
Did this get advertised for 30 days for the bylaws amendment?
He's asking if the 30-day notice was done, and it was.
Yes, and
I would make a motion to approve.
Motion by Steve to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nathan. Any discussion?
Which version are we voting on? I had pointed out that the original version didn't really cover my situation.
We're voting on the original.
Did anybody,
One.
are we just
Not
copying and
yours.
pasting?
Right, and in that case, I'll vote against that one because it fails to address the conflict I have. My, basically the original wording says that there's a private financial or property interest. There is none in my case, but there are situations come up where my relationship with USGS can preclude me voting creates a conflict. So I much prefer to see the alternative wording used, which basically is just a broader statement.
So I don't think the motion included any reference to a version here, did it?
No, it didn't.
Well, Dan, you said we advertised a specific.
yeah, it's in your packet. I sent out both as options to be voted on, but your motion, I thought you said, was the same as East Dakota one.
East Dakota's what?
Yeah.
And could I comment that?
Sure.
Usually I stay out of these things, but
Go ahead.
to me, Director Driscoll's suggestion might be a little too broad, because what happens if the water board votes on something that improves your neighborhood? Does that mean if you're in that neighborhood, that's a conflicting interest? I guess I'm just wondering how far somebody could take that if that was in there.
I think the reason it's in there is, we still have the issue that we're, the conflict of interest thing that we address each meeting. But if we were going after the funding source, and they're gonna look in our bylaws, that would cover, apparently that would cover, what the state or federal, agency would require from West Dakota Water Development District.
I totally understand where Mr. Driscoll's coming from, because with private, doesn't include public, which he is essentially an employee of the public, the federal government.
We advertised both of them, did you say? So we could change that?
You could vote on either one.
Okay. What does the board want to do?
Committee would be written correctly.
You want the Driscoll?
I like the original one because, Dan would still have that opportunity every meeting to declare any other conflict of interest, and I agree with Dan over here that is pretty broad, and I don't think that it's necessary.
Okay. I don't see any substitute motion.
Well, my motion is for the
Original one.
original.
Okay. Seeing no more comments, all in favor of the motion?
Was there a second on that?
Yeah, I think
I'll take.
Bob did.
Yeah, sorry. Forgot he did it. It's getting late. Okay. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
I guess I'll be the only nay, but I'll be comfortable.
No, I agree with you, Mr. Driscoll.
There's two no's. Yeah. James and Mr. Driscoll.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Mr. Director,
Yes.
can I suggest that next time that a committee be formed to hash this out before it goes to the board? Typically, that's how it's been done in the past, so that way everything is ironed out and covers all our bases before the meeting. That way we don't advertise it for 30 days if it's not right.
Sure.
We had to move Michael.
Sounds good. Okay, item 18. Hydrology conference. I guess my name's on there. I'm planning on attending. And April 11th. So far we got myself, Driscoll, Colt, Rollinger, Harris, Jovic, and Malawi attending. Is there anybody else interested?
Well, I have yet to go. I've been a director. This is my 3rd year. It'd be great if some of the people that haven't gone before could go. I don't know. How many times have you had the opportunity to go down?
A couple times. I go every year.
You can take my name off if you need to for funding, and I'll go otherwise, and you can.
Well, I just don't want to send the whole board, because if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we actually have 5. You can't send 5 members. It's actually a quorum. It's
Actually, you can send them because you're going to meet or stuff. Quorum doesn't apply.
The quorum applies because it's actually on our agenda. It's actually a board item.
But it doesn't apply. You're going to a meeting.
Our attorney's shaking his head no.
I didn't give you an opinion.
Well, that's not city council. We have if we're going to
Actually,
public function,
You're shaking your head at me. Am I
we
being
just can't have a
stupid?
meeting while we're.
You addressed that in a previous
We can't
meeting.
discuss business.
You actually commented about that in the previous meeting.
As long as business
No, we're
isn't
discussing whether.
discussed.
Yeah.
We're specifically going to discuss water business. You're going to introduce yourself as a water board member.
Doesn't matter. You can't vote and do things there. You can go as just like city council members. They can go. There can be 10 of them there. They can't discuss city business and how they're going to vote on it.
I'll hold a municipal league meeting.
In fact, what we used to do.
But
we
if somebody
used to
comes
wanna
up
go
to us and says, "Would you like to do this project?" You're immediately discussing water board business.
all of us can't be there if you're going to do that. Like at city council, we would walk away. The attorney told us it wasn't an issue unless you make it a meeting and you start discussing that business. If there's 5 of you there or whatever, so you don't do that. So because we are concerned about it, and we used to go down to the chamber mixers, and they said, and our city attorney says no, it's not. If you're forming and having a meeting and discussing business as a group of 10 of you at that meeting, you have an issue. If there's over 5 of you. So we're always cognizant about that. One of us would walk away. If business came up, we'd all say, hey, there's 5 of us. 2 of us would walk away. The attorney says you really don't have to, just don't discuss business.
He's shaking his head.
I don't know
Yes.
if anybody
Yeah.
has sent file
Oh.
before.
Just to comment, to just throw this out at you, as a co-coordinator of the hydrology conference, I would request that you decide on a person to introduce the luncheon speaker and describe the water board. And now I don't know if that throws a wrench into whatever you were saying there, Mr. Matalata, but,
Because if we're specifically going to talk about the water board, then we should at least take one name off. I don't think we've ever sent 5 people to an event for that reason, because somebody's gonna throw up a red flag and say, hey, they're in a legal meeting, whether it's right or not. Mr. Seth Tupper could tell you, somebody's opinion goes to fact before it hits the paper.
Well, you can certainly take my name off, but I'm gonna be there anyway. So is that a problem?
Well, if what she's saying is absolutely,
well.
we're gonna discuss the board and announce our presence.
I just want one representative. I just want one person to stand up and talk about what the board does, not introduce all of who's ever attending in the board's name. How's that sound?
I still think it sounds.
I just know from being on prior boards that we've had the legal decisions made on this, and it's gone as far as peer, and they told us we were fine. So peers said, this is attorneys and peers that said, if you're not having a meeting, you're not discussing business, you're there on a public function. All of us, 10 of us could be at a public function because it's public.
This isn't really open to the public per se.
It is a public function.
It is open to the public.
But it's for a fee, and you have to
No,
pay
the public can actually attend at no charge.
I intend to go,
Well,
but I'm not asking
we're
you to
not.
pay for it either.
We're not part of the public.
Yeah.
We're actually being charged to go.
Doesn't matter. You're in a public function, you're in a public setting. We're not going there discussing our normal everyday business. Now, I'm just saying, we got a legal opinion on it, so you can do what you want here, but I wouldn't be concerned about it.
Is it possible for us to obtain a legal opinion from higher up, whether it be a state's attorney or the like? Yeah, I think it's.
You got an attorney here.
Well, I'm aware of that, but oftentimes attorneys differ in opinions. I find it very difficult to find that a meeting such as that's supported as something for the members to attend can be construed as a violation of open meeting law, but I think it'd be a fairly simple question to answer.
Usually when I go up higher, they tell me to consult our attorney, just to let you know my past experience.
I think Mr. Rollins was correct.
Well, I brought it up actually when we were up in Pier, and they had
The
the
attorney was
attorney
there.
there,
attorney
and
was
he
there.
basically said the exact same thing.
He
So I
did.
did bring this up in Pier, by the way.
Yeah, he did bring that, and he said,
And
not a problem.
And the attorney there for Pierce said this comes up a lot. And he says, they had a whole slideshow on it
They did.
and said, you're fine. All of us could have been at that meeting that we were at.
Yeah, it could have been.
It's something Pierre hears all the time, he said.
So James, if you want to go, we can add you to the list.
No, I'd love to go, but I think if we spend the money to send the whole board, it's cost prohibitive.
Well, we get 2 free. And that's $35 each.
The cost is trivial, in my opinion, compared to all the other costs that can be carried.
This is just kind of an FYI, I believe. We've already voted to fund this. I guess, have we voted to fund the 30?
Well, it's in the budget.
Do you think we should vote on this?
Thought we did, but
I thought we did too, but I don't remember.
I think we always vote on how many people to send for the budget meeting. Pre-approve it because there's expenses.
Let's just vote on it then.
we did vote, I remember now, basically the reason it ended up on here again is because we need to let them know how many people.
Did you pre-authorize how many to send on that
No,
vote?
that was in addition to this agenda item, is we weren't sure how many were gonna.
How much was budgeted, do you know?
I believe we budgeted I think, you remember Mr. Williams, 2000 maybe?
Yeah, so it would have been the 2 free attendees.
I think most of them was free. I think I went on that.
We might have even gone up to 2,500 just to.
They're very useful. I like these hydrology conferences. I was introduced to them by Dan Driscoll, so I understand.
It's definitely worth attending.
Worth attending, and I've gone, so I'm off the list. But I'm sure there's going to be topics that I would be interested in seeing.
And there are,
So,
the following day, there's tours or something.
Yeah, Friday there's tours, Friday morning.
Field trips, it says, yeah.
yeah. And those tours fill up on certain different occasions.
Yeah.
So, could vote on it.
All right, let's have a motion for approval of expending the 2,000 plus $35 for the additional ones after the 2 free. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'd like to make it contingent on that this year they actually mention that the West Dakota Water Development
That's why I
Board
was asking for you guys to
was
decide
involved
who
in
wants to
funding
stand up
this.
to do
Last year that was not done. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I didn't appreciate that much being.
Galen said for someone.
Nathan, you want to get up and speak in our favor?
He had a script.
What's that?
Would you like to get up and speak?
No, I don't want to speak.
Okay.
I want to have my piece noted with the people that are putting this together, that last year that was highly inappropriate in my opinion, that we ended up funding it and not being mentioned. So,
Is there a motion?
I'd like to say something first.
Oh, go ahead.
James really wants to go, and we're talking $35, James, and from what Bob is, do you think it's worth? Is he going to gain? Is it going to? Because he's a important member of the board. Is it worth $35 for James to be there?
I think it is.
Yeah, but I can't see sending. We're already sending 7 people, and to me, I'm dollars and cents, and to me, it would look like me padding a budget. To me,
So I think because like when we went to the last meeting up here,
I know in the past we
learned a lot.
limited it to 4 board members, just to
stay
keep
under that limit.
To stay under the limit and also keep the budget low, because not only you get the $35, but you get your travel, your mileage, even though it's not a lot. When you're talking about the taxpayer paying for it, it adds up.
But if you gain something you bring back here that helps the taxpayer, it's to me it's.
No, I understand that. That's why we send no more than 4, because if 4 people on this board can't pick it up, then the rest of us ain't gonna get it.
That's not a total out there.
Yes, Dan.
I'd like to point out that in years gone by, all 9 directors were just automatically signed up to go. There was no question of open meeting violations. There was a point in time when they decided that those directors that didn't go had wasted that $35 and they were going to be required to pay that out of their own pocket. just to give you some background on it. So
I move we
we're going
approve
around
it
the bush
as
here
is.
that we don't need to be going around.
I make a motion we approve the names that are on here currently.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
2 noes. James and Bob. All right, moving right along. I don't have any comments. Items from directors.
Make that motion?
Steve did. Any, Nathan, any comments?
no, I think I said my piece.
Okay, Ron?
I have a request for the next meeting,
Okay.
and maybe it's early, but I wanted to make sure they had plenty of notice. Maybe we can get an update on our systems modeling project. I see on the agenda for the hydrology conference, they're giving an oral presentation, so it'd be nice to have them present to us maybe some of the information before they got to the conference, if it's possible.
Who's the contact for that?
USGS?
No, that's the contract we got with SDS M&T
Oh.
for the systems modeling.
Okay. check with them on that one.
Okay. That'd be my request, other than that, no.
Okay, good. Dan?
Nothing for me.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
No. Not? James?
Nope.
All right. Anything from the administration? Administrator?
Just a few items. As you can see, my tiny office is starting to get full. I noticed there are a lot of archived records, paper records from back to 2005. And perhaps Director Harris and I can start looking at those and maybe start shredding them. I don't know if there's much use keeping a lot of those. They take up space. So that's something I'd like to talk about.
I was scanning them in.
Yeah.
It kind of dovetails in with the chairman's comments about it's hard to find projects. And I hear this, well, I've only done it once, but the admin people get together usually once a year from all around the state. And it's kind of the same problem. And I've mentioned that I've gone to Huntington Conservancy District meetings, and there have been hints from them about maybe asking us for money for their tree planting program. And there is another water district that does give money to their conservancy district, so I'll just throw that out as a possibility. And there was something like that big vacuum cleaner thing, you know, you
Yeah.
maybe the March agenda will put that on there.
That's with rural water, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I also occasionally Source Molecular, who's tied in, that does DNA testing. They have pretty good webinars every now and then, and I try to send out emails when they send them, and I try to attend them. So that's a good way to kind of come up to speed on the DNA stuff. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any items from the public?
Oh, hold on one second.
Oh.
Instead of shredding those documents, can we scan them in to the
Well, in theory, what I was going to try to do is look at that old computer and see how much are on there.
see if they're already backed up?
Yeah, if all the minutes are maybe backed up, I guess I'm not absolutely sure about the legal requirements here. Scanning all of those in would take a lot of work.
Are they all contracts or are they proposals?
It's like books that'll say financial records for 2005 or meeting minutes from 2005, for example. And I don't know if there's any legal requirement to keep any of those.
I know it did come up last year, Dan. How old was that School of Mines contract they realized they thought they didn't get paid for?
Oh, yeah.
2008.
Yeah, 2008.
That's over a decade.
We
Yeah.
couldn't find anything.
That's true.
That or we need to come up with a storage option for our files.
Well, I wonder if, since we're a state organization, or agency, I wonder if we could contact somebody in Pier that would give us some advice on the record keeping.
With the
Attorney General's office, I don't know who would do it, but
I could check into it. Yeah.
I mean, you might check with Jay Gilbertson and see what they do too.
That's a good suggestion, yeah.
He's a good resource too.
And depending if it's a water project, maybe the School of Mines, we could partner. And does the School of Mines have an archives room or any archive documents in the library?
other stuff.
Archives documents in the library.
Yeah, I know with my undergrad, my graduate, there was actually an archive room where they had papers donated, where we could technically maybe donate the old project ideas, like we'd scan them, so we'd still have digital rights to them, so we could give them up, but maybe we could donate it so that some unwielding undergrad could use the documents for a paper or something. Or maybe I'm just thinking too historian right now, and I'll just be quiet.
Historian.
Anything else, Dan?
No.
Anything from items from the public?
Well, I would repeat my question as to having a representative.
We'll get somebody figured out.
The luncheon speaker.
Nathan said no, so
I know.
we got 8 left.
They don't want me up there.
Who else had a comment? Go ahead, Bruce.
I'm Ernie Getty, for anybody that doesn't know me or remember me. I have some comments and one request from the board. First of all, a comment on these stream gauges. I think that's a highly worthy investment. The additional gauges to determine where this contamination might be originating from, the severity of it. And I commend you approaching Rapid City with some of these costs, and I hope we can work together to make sure we get a good, honest, accurate final edition on that. I was curious if there was a follow-up presentation, and I don't know if I should be addressing this to Dan or not, but they had a legislative event on January 9th that some of you attended. I don't know if there was there a recap on that adventure at all?
Oh, is that the trip to Pier, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was just curious.
I can speak on it, and I was going to speak on my chairman's comment. Not my chairman, oh my, past my bedtime. Anyways, during my director's comments, so went down, we got to go see the East Dakota and James River water district speak. James River was interesting. They had about a 25-item agenda, and they knocked it out in an hour and a half. And they had a quite large board that was from about Aberdeen all the way down to Yankton. And it was just interesting talking to those guys because they're also the district that works with the conservatory district, so like the planting trees that Dan has mentioned a couple of times during the meetings. And with the new farm bill, there is no money for tree planting. And so along the James River Valley, which is one of the most farmed areas in South Dakota, they are very excited to receiving the money. Each of the conservatory districts gets about $5,000. They started with 3. It's also interesting to see how big their budget was. We got to hear about that, which was $950,000. Granted, it was a multi-county endeavor. That was the interesting thing about that one, and also seeing that they had county commissioners on the board, which was just kind of a shock in how everything is kind of different here where nobody else is from another board. East Dakota ran very differently. It was very administrative led. Jay kind of had the show, and there was very little discussion. It was usually this is up, this is a worthy project, and usually it went very quickly. We got to see a presentation about some water flow gauges from the University of South Dakota that seemed very interesting, and just kind of seeing how they operated. Then afterwards we did go to the social at the Rain Dakota, and it was kind of interesting because we were with Dan, and everybody knew Dan, and so everybody was super nice to us and wanted to know where we were from and what we were doing and what we did. And then a couple, yeah. and it was kind of funny for Steve and I because we would be walking, and all of a sudden Dan would peel off, and they'd be like, "Hi, who are you with?" And we explain, and we're waiting for a person, Dan Bierke. They're like, "Oh, Dan, I know Dan." And they would tell us a story about Dan. Where is he at? Oh, he's about 6 booths back. Oh, he's talking so and so, and we just kind of felt like the 2 people that you drag along to an event just because they're friends. But anyways, it was a very interesting thing, and I am looking forward to talking to James River and possibly following up on the conservatory district with Pennington County to see if it is a viable option for the district.
One thing I would add too is that it was amazing how efficient their boards. When they started, they were right down the agenda items, and they were all seemed to be in sync. There wasn't a we-they mentality like we seem to have here, and hopefully at some point in time we get to the point where this is all about the water board, and that's what we look at. We focus on what's good for the city, and it was watching them that did that. That's when the attorney came out. He had a whole presentation that dealt with the conflict of interest, and I sit in for Dan. And the other thing I noticed is the directors are part of it. They, for most part, they're almost like a board member up there. They have a high, and I think Dan should be sitting up here wherever we go to, just like part of the board, like they did. They streamline things. Like when you got to your treasury report, the treasurer didn't sit up there and read this off to you because we're all intelligent people. You should have that read before you get here. They said it's there. You have your questions. Boom. When I said everything you went to as a board member, you were required to do your research. You know, your past minutes. You should have read that before you got there. Approved minutes. When you make changes, boom, off it went. Everything was like clockwork there. And I think that we can get to that same speed, because everybody here is, you're all highly intelligent people. And we may have some disagreements and stuff, but I think over time we'll get there. But it's impressive to watch how both boards were smooth, and the director was was part of that whole process.
Sounds like it was a beneficial trip, and it's well worth its while. It's nice to be able to coordinate with the rest of the state, and I really like that efficiency aspect. And as far as Dan serving up there, I think that'd be a good idea. One more comment. This base issue with the contamination, just as a citizen, I'm very interested in that, and I would urge the board to invite and stay abreast of the issues out there in Ellsworth, and perhaps invite, is it Nancy Maynard? On perhaps a more regular basis to keep us up to speed, because I think that's going to be a long-term contamination issue, and I think it's going to affect water more and more as opposed to less and less, not just groundwater, but Box Elder Creek in particular. So I would urge you to stay abreast of that, and maybe bring some people from the base here on a more regular basis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, there's one thing.
It's too late.
No, you can see we had to move a bunch of tables and chairs and stuff around here, so before we adjourn, or after we adjourn, it would be nice if you had some assistance to. You remember how all these chairs are laid out? Tables?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear a lot.
It took a little while to get this set up, and we need to. Did you have a comment?
Not on that, but another comment, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
This is a suggestion, maybe somebody won't like it, but you have legal and consultation fees lumped, and I'd suggest that you split it in the interest of knowing what your legal fees are and what your consulting fees are.
Is this on the treasurer's report?
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Is that the short version? I think there's a long version there.
So both ones here have legal and consultation.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Steve, reason why
Thanks for coming. Thank you, sir. You're a good man.
this committee act.
Well, thank you.
Because of the